There you go.
Yep. One of the coolest things, this guy, he makes, I was telling Ryan, he's my Boyer Brothers, he makes $1 million a month net. Awesome guy, his name's Mike. He has a consulting company, super sharp guy, and yeah, very successful. But he just says anytime that something goes sideways, he's just learned to just cope with it. While he's fighting with him, he doesn't react. You know what he says? Okay, I guess this is what we're doing today. Employee quits, he says, hey, you know what? I guess this is what we're doing today. He settles in. He said that saying has changed everything about him. Hey, deal goes sideways. Okay, I understand. Guess that's what we're doing today. And what does he focus on?
Positive stuff.
What he can control. And that's how a dude has so many problems. He's got 300 something employees, something crazy. I mean, it's a big deal. Businesses, offices all across the country. And he has a lot of problems, right? And so his ability to have a high capacity allows him to make a lot more money. But when things that trigger most people take them off for a whole day, what takes them off for 2 minutes? And he says, hey, okay, I guess that's what we're doing today. And what's he do? Focus on the outcome. That's just part of just capacity of being really good. But other thing I'll show you guys is one thing called just breaking down values and kind of assets and liabilities and things like that. A lot of cool stuff. I taught this a while back, but I want to teach it again. So everybody who knows what a balance sheet is, right? There's a couple different types of balance sheets. So you have an asset and liabilities. You guys with me on this?
Sure.
And so I have an asset, which would be, give me an example. A house worth, let's say, $300,000. I have a mortgage on it, let's say, for $200,000. Right? What's my net there?
100,000.
100,000. Right? I have a car for $50,000. Oh, 25,000. What's my net there? 25,000. Right? And so ultimately, you have this place here, which is your obviously your what?
Net.
Net what? Worth. Right? I want you guys to understand that, and I told this a long time ago, that there's this other thing called HLV. Everybody knows what that means? Human life value. Human life value. And so I want you guys to understand and think about that you are your number one asset. In terms of what you do. Most people focus so much on assets and liabilities, they don't focus on the asset and liabilities. What means more than anything in the world is what?
Yeah.
You. What's the number one thing you can invest in that's the most valuable thing on the planet? You. Either your mindset or your physicality, right? These coaching programs are much more, going to be a much better investment for you than anything you can buy, stock, crypto, all that stuff in the short term. Why? Because as you grow and get better, what happens to your income? It goes up, and then that income compounds when you invest that to external assets. But the most important asset are things for yourself. What's an example of an asset liability for yourself?
Your health.
What's that?
Your health.
Health. So that can be what?
Taking care of yourself so that we don't get sick when you're older.
Yeah, or now when you're trying to work.
Yeah.
A lot of people here get sick all the time. And guess what? For them, health can be what? A liability. And so I need to understand and actually take inventory of my life and myself and say, look, you know what? I have my own balance sheet as a human, as a realtor, as a producer, and I got to look at my assets and liabilities. So my liabilities can be my ability to communicate, my ability to sell, my objection handling, my conversion rate, whatever it could be. Any of these things are my liabilities, and so I want to be able to when I take liabilities, and what do you want to do? The whole key is to reduce liability and do what? Paul said it, move to the asset side and increase what? The value. And so I want you guys to take time this next few weeks, I think maybe slow down a little bit during the holidays, and take some true inventory of like, look, what is my HLV in terms of my asset liabilities for my personal self, right? Which is important. And so that's one thing you have to understand, that people are assets, things are not. And so each one of you guys are your number one asset. And so we burn out. And me, my health, and my productivity, my emotional state, my emotional being we talked about, if my emotional state goes from being an asset to a liability, who does that affect? Me and who else? My family, my kids, my wife, my husband, right? So it's important for me to make sure that I'm focused on, okay, how do I keep consistent on things like my skill set? That can also be asset liability, right? My mindset, asset liability. My consistency, asset liability, right? All these things happen in terms of what you do from a asset liability standpoint. But like even around now, right, what we were talking about with Mike, he's my good buddy, he's been aware longer than me, he's the only guy who's been longer than me. And he has a great kind of breaks, a big financial planner. But how we take some of these life lessons and document them. I want to take them in a document for my kids. And I talked about with him how I did my letter to Luke, the legacy letter. He wrote a letter to his wife. He wrote 30 straight days of letters to his grandson when he was born, which is pretty cool. Giving his son and grandson all like the success tips and secrets and things he's learned his whole life. It's pretty cool. That becomes what? An asset to his family and family lineage. His grandson gets old enough, who's 3 years old right now, to read those. Is that good or bad for him? Good. That can change the entire trajectory of their entire lineage forever. Just knowing, hey, I had a powerful grandfather who took time to write 30 letters to me when I was born, 30 days in a row, about what we stand for as a family, who we are, and where we're going, which is super cool. He gave me the idea, which is really cool. I was telling somebody this about the other night. I think it's on Chris. And Bryant is like, he has a family constitution. Here's who we are. Here's who we stand for. Here's what we are as a family, which is pretty cool. And they created a family crest of like, boom, here's who the Sloans are. Here's who we stand for. Not some online that you got from like 5 generations ago. This is one that we create as a family about here's who we are now, here's what we stand for, and here's what we're going to leave legacy going forward, which I thought was very, very powerful, right? And so that was something that was super cool. And that's one thing that I looked up. But here's the thing. Everything that you see, feel, experience around you, somebody made that up, right? And so it's important to understand, like, look, where am I able to take in and go through, I'm focusing on my human life value of what I am. And so I want you guys to take some time this next few weeks and go through and look, okay, what's my assets, what's my liabilities? And so we all know what my assets are. It could be like, hey, pretty good at sales, pretty disciplined showing up, whatever. If I'm not, my liability could be my inconsistency, showing up, not showing up, getting 2 checks last Friday and not showing up this week. Which there's somebody missing that did that this week. But, I knew on Friday when I wrote this check that person ain't going to be here this week. It just happens, right? So that's what?
Liability, for sure.
And so I want you guys to go through, I think it's super helpful, but this is important, but not near as important as this. Like here's the problem. This could be full of assets with lots of money one day, but this right here is empty. Guess what happens to your life?
It's empty.
It's empty. Right? A lot of money, a lot of people are not really connected and happy with you, or you're not happy with yourself, it'll make a big difference. And so this is what I try to do here is help you guys increase this. Right? By leading from the front, by going from everything we do, which is important. But any questions about that? And one thing that's really good that I want you guys to kind of take from this quote that was important from that is that money is a token for the value you provide to the world. Money is a token for the value that you provide to the world.